Hey, what's up, Rebecca? Welcome to my personalized lip sync tutorial for Maya. Let's jump in. Um, so I'm gonna start with my little guy here. I'm gonna give him two eyes, but we're not gonna worry about those yet. And just to do this test, I grabbed some audio off of um, off of YouTube. So it's this clip.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Bless you.
Thanks.
So anyway, I just dragged that in here. I mean, I'm assuming you know how to do that. One thing I've noticed is that when you download audio, sometimes it doesn't work with Maya. So I had to convert this to a WAV file with Adobe Media Encoder. It seems just kind of random whether certain MP3s or waves work. So, if the one you download doesn't work, just convert it. But I'm sure you can figure that out. So anyway, like I was saying before, there's two parts to this process. The first part is dropping down the joints and making a jaw thingy. And then the second part is doing the blend shapes for like the lips themselves. So real quick, I'll just sort of fast forward through me laying out these joints for you. All right, so now I have some acceptable joints. I'll hit this button up here to turn on X-ray joints, which is the super, super useful little thing to have just right there, so you can turn them on and off as you need. And this is basically my jaw joint. I've renamed this to jaw, and we're mostly just going to animate this by rotating it. But anyway, let's bind this to the skin really quick. And first thing before I do that, I'm going to delete history on this guy, because if there's any history on the stuff that I'm binding skin to, that can really screw stuff up and like make it really slow. So if we check on it, it looks like cool, no history. It's just P-cube shape, and I'll just call it little guy shape. There we go. And then let's just select that guy, select this guy, go to the rigging tab, skin, bind skin, option box. And I always use, instead of the default closest distance, I use heat map. I'm going to bind to, instead of selected joints, I think the default is joint hierarchy. So if you do selected joints, you can select the specific joints, but if you do joint hierarchy, if I just select this, it'll bind all of these. So heat map, joint hierarchy, cool, bind skin. Then takes a minute. Heat map does like a really good job generally. And when that doesn't work, which it doesn't sometimes, I like to use geodesic voxel, which you can crank the resolution up to get like a higher quality bind skin. And then last resort is like closest distance I would use. So anyway, let's see how this looks right now. Oh, there we go. We got a little jaw movement. And like maybe that's enough for the lip sync you need to do. Maybe that's really basic. You got some nice extra control too, where you can animate the jaw up like that, but then maybe take this like bottom part and like have even more control that way. Really quick, one other thing I would say is, in general with rigging in Maya or any other program, you're gonna notice that you're gonna get weird deformations that kind of break things a little bit. There's a really quick way to solve this though that I figured out pretty early on that's really helped all my work, which is if you have your thing in the pose that you created it in, and you select it and then you go to deform, you can add what's called the delta mush deformer. So I don't know if you know about this, but it basically will refer to your reference pose where nothing is deformed and screwed up, and it will use that to help smooth it out in parts where you do have it screwed up. So like over here, you can see that looks a lot less screwed up now. I'm able to push this a lot further without getting any kind of weird results here. And you can see what this looks like turned off. I'll turn off selection highlighting so we don't need to see the highlighting while I do this. And delta mush, I'm going to turn the envelope off. Boom. That's without delta mush. with Delta Mush. Without, with. It's amazing. And you can choose the smoothing iterations that it does, and all that stuff. It's just a really useful tool for character stuff. So I would really recommend playing with that a bit. So yeah, there's Delta Mush. And then basically all I'm going to do is manually go ahead and animate this jaw up and down based on what the lips are doing here.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
And so what I'll probably do is, and normally when you're rigging this, you want to make controls and, you know, all that stuff. But if you're doing a quick thing, you can get away with just using joints and keying the joints yourself. I would turn off the select geo up here and have it so you're just selecting the joints. And then I can set a key on this joint here, so it's starting with the mouth closed, and maybe, yeah, maybe we'll start it like that. And I'll kind of fast forward through this part because you probably get how this is working, but.
And in my opinion, this part is just all generally really satisfying.
Another nice trick you could do is you could, instead of just animating this joint or just animating this joint on their own, you could select this and then select this and rotate them both together, and you'll get kind of an interesting thing going on. So that's not a bad trick. It's like a little Muppet.
Yeah.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
So cool, that kind of works.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
That kind of works on its own a little bit. Like,
Remember
it's
the la-
definitely shitty, but it's a quick lip sync. And if your character's just like a little Muppet thing like this, that could be kind of fine. But if you want to go for higher production value, we'll take the next couple of steps to make this a little bit fancier. Real quick, actually, because I animated this with these two joints selected, where it was actually turning them both rather than just turning the one, and then this is parented to that. What's really awesome is that now what I can do is, one thing I like to do is, like, you know, when you're animating an arm or whatever, I like to have like this part moves and then this part kind of follows it and then this part kind of follows that, and you get really nice follow through that way. So if you actually have this joint animated and then you have this joint delayed a little bit, like we take all the keyframes and just move them over by one, it'll look kind of a little bit.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Like, that looks so much better already. That's crazy. Holy shit.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Holy fuck, that's incredible. So yeah, you can do the same thing when you're animating anything. Like if you're animating a character's arm, like I just said, or whatever, just as long as it's FK, like forward kinematics, you can just go down the joint chain and you can say, all right, I'm going to delay this arm key by one. I'm going to delay this key by two. And then it's going to, like, this is going to feel like it's pulling this, which is pulling this. And then even you can pull the fingers back like by 4 frames or whatever, but it's just a really good trick. So great. We're in a good spot right now. All right. So the next step is going to be to add blend shapes. So I should have done this, made the copies and started setting up the blend shapes before I did this stuff, but hopefully that's okay. So what I'll do is at the end of here where I'm done animating it, I'm going to select the skin. I'm going to say, go to bind pose. Nope. Doesn't want to do that. Oh, wait, I'm not selecting it because of this guy. Boom. I turned selection highlighting back on. And I'm going to go skin, go to bind pose. Great. And then I'll key these guys over here. So So it goes back to the original rest pose. So that's cool. And then I'll make a duplicate, and I will unlock this whole guy. Unlock selected. Great. And these are going to be our blend shapes. So I'll do this guy, and then I'll do Shift D. Shift D, 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 D. And we got a couple blend shapes. So what shapes do we need? Well, we could Google like phoneme chart or whatever. Or I guess like lip sync chart. And see like, you know, the couple different mouths that we might want.
Dude, this one.
Yeah, this one looks awesome. But instead, I'm just gonna think about what things we need and just kind of figure it out. So what I'll do is I'll say we need an R shape, we need an E shape, we need an M shape, probably need an O shape, or yeah. So first I'll make the R shape, and maybe I'll fast forward through this bit because this could be boring, or you could fast forward through it. I mean, maybe this is enough right here. So hopefully this will work, because it could screw it up whether the skin cluster, which is the bind skin, or the blend shapes go first, but we'll figure it out. So select all these guys, and I'm gonna name these. So I'll call this R smile, O M. Great. And then I will select all these guys, go to here and go to skin. No, go to deform blend shape. Great. And then I'll go to Windows, animation editors, and open up the shape editor. Great. And then this is a really easy thing to use to animate all these blend shapes with. So cool. It's updating kind of weird, but that's fine. So I'll set keys on all of these. Key them all. Key, 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 key. Fuck.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Awesome. I think I got this done. All right, now that we crashed once when trying to do this and redid it, we're in pretty good shape. I'll group all these guys and hide them. BS.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Now, really quick, one important part of this as well is using wrap deformers. I don't know if you've used wrap deformers before, but they're super, super useful. So basically, I want to stick these eyes onto the guy because right now they're just
Remember the last time you
not doing anything. So if I grab both these guys and I click on this, deform, and wrap, so I'm wrapping this to this, boom, 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 deform, wrap.
remember the last time you used a public restroom?
It'll basically deform this geometry based on the way that this is moving around. So it's a good way of like kind of like sticking these eyes to this guy.
Remember
Okay, cool. Anyway, so that's cool. You could use the wrap deformer thing to also wrap like teeth into the mouth if you wanted.
used a public restroom?
But
Remember the last time you used a public restroom? Remember the
that's generally the idea though. Like that's like, you know, the basically having the jaw control, which you can animate and rotate and move around however you want, and having all these blend shapes that you can kind of mix together with the jaw control however you want, just gives you like a crazy amount of control when you want to do lip syncing. And also just in general, like, you know, as you I'm sure know, like with audio, you can kind of get away with a lot less work than you would think that you need to make things feel like they sync up. So like your brain will do most of the work of making them sync together. So like, you know, if you want to just like crappily lip sync something really quick, just doing a jaw joint is probably fine, and using some of those other tricks that I use to just animate it, like, you know, offsetting the joints down chain by 1 frame each per, you know, length down the chain or whatever. It's just some stuff worth messing around with. So I think that's about that. Really quick, I'll show you one other handy thing.
the last time you used a public restroom?
A little bonus feature is I don't know if you know this already.
Remember the
It's actually, this might not work for this, but
remember the last time you used a public restroom?
if we select this guy and we go to effects and we go to end cloth and we create a end cloth, and then we go to paint vertex properties, input attract. We could do something like paint the influence of like the sim versus like the input animation, which would allow us to make something that's like floppy but controlled by our animation. So if we go into the end cloth shape stuff, and you go to the dynamics properties, no, not dynamics properties, is it? Yeah, it is. Input mesh attract, we set that to like 0.5. It'll pull the end cloth towards the animated mesh. So if we hit play,
Remember the last time you used a public restroom? Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
it just adds a little bit of extra nice jiggle and stuff to it. And you can paint the parts that you want to be more affected by it and less affected by it.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
I'll go back up to like 0.7.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom? Remember the last time
Anyway,
you used
end cloth is like so fucking awesome. So definitely use that shit if
Remember
you
the
don't
last
already.
time you used a public restroom?
So if I want the back of him to be like really jiggly and I want the front of him to be not jiggly, I'll set the input mesh track to 100 and then I'll say end cloth, paint vertex properties, input attract, and then I'll paint anywhere that's painted white is set to like 1, where it's like completely attracting the input mesh, and anywhere set to 0 is set to black is set to 0, where it's like completely floppy end cloth sim just being pulled by whatever stuff is around it. So if we like paint like the bottom of the jaw, for example, down here, and then we smooth it a bunch, smooth, cool. Then we play.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom? Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
Anyway, I'll turn the end cloth off now by going back to display input mesh instead of display current mesh. But you can turn it back on if you went to end cloth display current mesh.
Remember the last time you used a public restroom?
But anyway, yeah, all pretty awesome stuff. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and enjoy.